Let's talk about citizen oversight of law enforcement. I want to cover 3 questions. Why does a community need citizen oversight? How is citizen oversight commonly structured? And how would we get police oversight reestablished here in Olympia? So, first question, why do we need it? Take a look at how the police officers and the activists squared off at the Port of Olympia in 2007. The port commissioners and the police officers saw things one way. The activists and demonstrators saw them in a very different way. The police are willing to pull out the pepper spray and batons to deal with traffic issues, but they're not willing to take a stand on international law or public safety regarding depleted uranium. Police agencies are just not very good at sorting out the difference between illegal conduct and conduct that is illegal but not blameworthy. Police oversight is like jury nullification. It can help a police agency and a community be less reactive and violent in situations where world events create such outrage that people will set aside their concern about illegal conduct and step into the street for something they really believe in. Another thing you have to consider is how the lines have blurred between law enforcement and the military. The blurring of that line goes beyond just hardware and training. You can also see it in the fusion centers and in infiltration of activist groups by people like John Towery, as a local example. I think lots of us are ready for a change. We've seen enough people knocked down. We're tired of the inappropriate strip searches. We don't want to hear about women being tasered when they won't consent to a strip search. We're tired of our friends being charged with bogus crimes. Okay, here we go. Types of citizen oversight. In the first model, an individual conducts the oversight. The individual is often called an auditor or a monitor or inspector or an ombudsman. The second model is called the monitoring model. This is an individual or a board that's authorized to review the internal affairs investigations of the department, and in some cases, make recommendations to the agency itself. The models that are established with an individual having the authority to do the investigations have an obvious weakness. The investigative model is an individual or a board or commission that's authorized to investigate complaints, to make findings, and in some cases, even to make recommendations to the law enforcement administration regarding discipline or policy. That's a powerful model. The auditor-ombudsman model often has authority to conduct investigations not even generated by complaints, so it's a fairly powerful model as well. The citizen boards or commissions have the strength of involving the community in a direct way. Each of these models has strengths and weaknesses. All of them rely on being adequately funded, and that could be a problem these days. The easiest thing for the city of Olympia to do would be to rehire an auditor, because they've had one before. It probably doesn't matter what system the city of Olympia chooses, because the failure or success of the system will depend on citizen energy and input. Copwatch can be a great support to any form of citizen oversight. Let's go copwatching.
Turbo 600 North Mont, 600 North Mont.
Checks and balances are an important element of a democratic society. That's why copwatch groups have formed, to keep police accountable for their actions. Copwatching means stopping whenever you see police interacting with someone in public, observing the interaction, and, if possible, recording.
Oftentimes people will they'll say, well, I don't know that person, I don't know what happened, oh, they must have done something wrong, or whatever, and all kinds of horrible things happen in isolation, but they also happen in front of a lot of people, but people are just ignoring it.
Many examples in the news prove that copwatching is effective. 22-year-old Oscar Grant was shot on the Oakland BART by a police officer. The San Francisco Chronicle notes that videos of the incident could play a critical role in the investigation. Sometimes videotaped accounts are the only defense for victims of police abuse. The key to copwatch is simple: stop, watch, and record. These rights are guaranteed by our freedom of assembly. On public property, police don't have a reasonable expectation of privacy. When copwatching, get close enough to see, but keep a reasonable distance so that you are not perceived to be interfering. Retrieve recording devices slowly and do not come up behind officers. Otherwise, you may be perceived as a threat. It can be helpful to repeat the events to yourself and write down what you saw as soon as possible if you do not have a recording device available. Make your presence known. The Fifth Amendment protects citizens from having to talk to police officers. If you feel compelled to speak, you can say, "I am only observing." Officers have a legal obligation to give their name or badge number, but you do not have to give an officer your name. Get it to a safe place and preserve it. If possible, talk to other witnesses and get contact information from the victim in case you can use your footage in court. You can also bring footage to groups like Redwood Copwatch, the American Civil Liberties Union, or the Civil Liberties Defense Center. They can review the footage and strategize the best plan of action.
The more of us that are copwatching, the more they don't know when any member of the community is going to care and stop and watch.
Copwatch. Stop, watch, record.
So how would we get citizen oversight reestablished in Olympia? Sometimes a community gets citizen oversight established as a result of a really terrible incident. Think of the WTO in Seattle, or David Brame's shooting of his wife in Tacoma.
But those that died, they taught me well.
These events helped those communities establish citizen oversight panels. Sometimes municipalities agree to set up a citizen oversight panel as a result of litigation. Or other times, the police violence around town just mounts to the point that the community insists on oversight.
But now I'm waking up, I am not afraid.
Any way it's done, it requires heavy lifting, a lot of politicking. Here's a video about Eugene's process.
Press conference today is not about any specific event. This is about governance. This is about public policy. This is about accountability and to be specific, this is about a group of us citizens giving vocal support to the police auditor and the Civilian Police Review Board.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, that was a creation of us, the voters. And we won by a fairly large margin. And we won for one reason. There had been a long history of questionable events involving the Eugene Police Department, and we did not receive satisfactory answers. And what we're here about is to support the one vehicle that we all think can help heal this rift of trust. Because it's really clear that the trust within at least the police union and those of us in the community that support the police auditor is very fragile right now. And that cannot be good for participatory democracy, which is why we're here.
The reason we have an external review board and an auditor's office, it wasn't because some city councilor decided we're going to do this. It wasn't the decision of some mayor that we were going to do this. It wasn't the decision of Communities United for Better Policing that we were going to do this. This was a decision that was made by all the voters in Eugene. And after we finished our work as a Communities United for Better Policing group, I sort of left and didn't think about it again until recently when I've been getting phone calls about what is happening.
The best way for police officers to have the support of the community is for them to be acting under policies that reflect the values of this community. There is no way to have policies and practices in place that reflect the values of the community unless the community is involved in that dialogue with the police department.
And so this is the matter that brings
sleep among the counted sheep, sleepwalking with the pack. But now I'm wide awake, and I am not afraid, and
Thanks for coming out tonight.
I am not turning back. No, I am not afraid, and I am not alone, and I am not turning back.